This is Jurong Lake Gardens in Singapore. It's somewhere on the west side of Singapore. And we're gonna go around, take some photograph, videos, and maybe if, finding animals, I might just sketch them. So I went around with my big bazooka 600mm lens, and then I was carrying my brand new DJI Pocket 3, and I was taking lots of footages. You could see squirrels scurrying around on the tree, jumping from branch to branch. That's Wendy. We were just walking around taking photographs. I saw lots of animals, and I took a lot. And at the end of this video, if you want to hang around and look at all the photographs I took, you can just jump to that section as well, or you can just watch it later. It was early in the morning, and then it was a Saturday morning, and then lots of people was up and about doing exercise, walking around. Some like us was going around taking photographs. There are lots of waters, lake, and then of course there were birds, waders, and local birds in Singapore. And it was just a wonderful day to be out and about, watching sun coming up, and then I love shadows like these, and then the birds on the ground, and just basically enjoying ourselves with our cameras and walking about, getting some fresh air. That's just basically what we did on a Saturday morning, 7 a.m. A little bit early, but not too bad. It's amazing actually, with such a small piece of land. Well, Singapore is very small, and then the lake garden is relatively small as well. You would find all sorts of wild animals. Well, I wouldn't say thriving, but they are, sort of growing in numbers. We saw otters. It was hard to hunt for this otter with the video, so I took a shot with my camera. Lots of tortoise swimming about. Always lovely to see them. And well, I think I'm going to sketch this little fella. I think what I'm going to do is, take a few of my favorite photographs and collage it into a sketch spread. That's the monitor lizard swimming happily and carefree, in the lake. Very, very nice to see them. They are harmless unless you provoke them. There were plenty of monitor lizards that morning. I saw quite a few, swimming around and enjoying themselves, basically. Where I live, we actually have quite a few of these monitor lizards in our compound. Within the condominiums that I live, they actually live right inside, and in some ways they're harmless. They don't really disturb us, so we kind of leave them alone. More tortoise swimming about happily. After our photographic and video session, we went to a place called Fusion Spoon and have our breakfast. A couple of other friends joined us, and I always get myself a hearty breakfast. Artists should never go hungry, is what I say. I will have my Singapore. And these are the people I hang out with that morning. That's Boy, Wendy, and Lily. I've known these people for many years, almost 30. Ooh, old friends. I bought a new sketchbook from Overjoy. This is one of the best among the few, other than Straits, and we have Art Friend as well as Drawing, etc. But Overjoy, one of the best in Singapore. Go give them some love. Anyway, I bought a new sketchbook, and it's this one, Rhodia. I know the brand quite well because I've used a lot of their writing notebook, notepads, and so on. But this is the first time I see their watercolor sketchbook, so I decided to get the cold pressed version. I think they only have cold pressed. This is 300 GSM. Should be very thick and nice. And I think this would be a very nice watercolor. I haven't opened it yet, so let's go try it out. It's gonna be my sketchbook for November, December maybe. Let's see how much I sketched. Okay, let's start by drawing the animals. I'm gonna do 4 on this spread. And the first one is a hornbill, second is a squirrel, third is a tortoise, and the fourth is a yellow boo bird. I think that's what it's called. I will put a link to the photos of these sketches in the description below, so that you download them and you can try and sketch them for yourself as well. That's the squirrel. Lovely little fella, was very active, jumping up and down. I took lots of shots and I kept about 2 or 3, I think 3 of them. And yeah, and I got pretty good sharp shots of it. And I will show you how I simulate the fur, and what I think, what my thinking process is when I sketch these animals as well. The third one, this is a tortoise. I didn't get a very clear shot. There were plants or leaves in between my camera and the tortoise, but anyway, this is the best shot that I had from that series. The rest I kind of threw away, so kept this one. By the way, these drawings speed up because I didn't want to put it on real time for this video. It's just too long. I have so much other content that I wanted to show you, and if you find that it is too hard to follow, what you do is just pause it, and then you can always draw at your own pace, so there's no problem right there. Get all the shapes of the back of the tortoise correctly, but I think it's okay. It's the animal I'm going to sketch is the yellow-vented bulbul. I think that's what it's called. It's one of the top 10 most common bird in Singapore. I see that a lot where I live. Sometimes they will hang around the balcony in my condominium, and then it will just perch there, and lovely sight in that sense. We've actually had them nesting and eggs and so on and so forth. Little chicks come out of it. That was some years back. Where I live. Finished drawing. I'm just gonna put the date down. It's 2023 November, on the 4th of November, that is, and that should be the memory for this spread. Materials that I'm using for this video, real quick. That's Da Vinci number 6 and 10, the spritzer, and I'm gonna use colors. They are my small palette. With my most favorite colors. I won't use many of them. I'll just use some of them. I'm gonna paint it with green, yellow, a bit of blue, and dark. I guess that's gonna be my color scheme for this one. 2 water container. 2 because you can keep your water really clean. If one is a dirty container and the other one is pure, clear water. And then yeah, that's it. So let's start. I'm gonna basically paint with green. Colors that I'm gonna use would be lemon yellow, green gold, mixture of those two for light green, and then throw in a little bit of for the darker version later on. I might warm it up with a quinacridone gold and a little bit of phthalo green blue shades. Maybe a dab of French ultramarine for darker version, but I think basically keeping it green, and then I'm gonna try to keep the animals colors to be yellow, greenish, slightly bluish on some spot, and black neutral tint, if you like. Those are the colors that I intend to use, so let's see how I'll go with that. I'm going to speed up the background. You could pause it and sketch on your own and so on and so forth, but yeah, I'm just gonna keep my background real quick, easy, trying to merge the whole thing into one piece, although I will use slightly different versions of green, bluish green, and so on and so forth, so that's just a bit of interest between very sort of mid-tone background and some dark spots, and some whites. I think from a design perspective, it's not going to be too bad, right? That's the whole idea. I'll be focusing on a few key thoughts, and I'll share with them as I sketch them. You will see that I don't really have many complicated strategy, but basically just to focus on the animal itself, and this spread is just to have these 4 animals being the focus. The way I'm thinking about it is I'm thinking of the first layer that I want to lay for the animals, and if I look at the hornbill, the most jarring and most important part, I guess, is the black color. Most of its body, it's black, and I'm gonna go straight in. Oftentimes sketchers are very afraid of going dark first, but I think if it's like the majority colors and you want to take that as a first go, there's nothing that should stop you. Just go for it. Now, from a scale of 1 to 5, this would probably be a 4. It's not the darkest of the dark. That's the watered down neutral tint with a dash of French ultramarine and phthalo green. So it's kind of like a little bit blue greeny sort of dark, if you like, lighter. There's lots of light yellow, so I'm going to throw in lemon yellow with a bit of quinacridone gold, a bit of new gamboge as well, so multiple colors and so on. I'm also thinking a little bit of the structure, the 3-dimensional structure. I'm dabbing a little bit of the darker colors. There's a dash of French ultramarine and cobalt thrown into the mix, and that gives me a little bit more of a very cool sort of color that will just give me a sense of its fur and shadow, and give you a bit of volume as well as push the shape to the back of the yellow, if you like. Now for the tortoise, the first layer, I'm just thinking of separating the little shape to make sure that all the small shapes are separated by colors. That's all I was thinking. So I wasn't going to join together the yellow. I'm just going to dab on it to kind of give you a sense of some white background, some yellow. Later on, when I load up the dark colors, I'm hoping to kind of mimic the shell, the tortoise shell, and so that it sort of reflect the design, if you like. Nothing very complicated, but that's kind of like the for the bird. I'm just trying to lay down the foundation yellow, if you like. It's still lemon yellow. This time I load a bit of burnt sienna, darker colors, if you like, and then try to put the shape of the feathers, and mimic as best I can the spots on the body of the bird. I'm also using the same colors, and I'm just going back to the various animals as well, sort of giving a second layer, if you like. So that's part of the thing. Watercolor is a game of patience. You do need to exercise lots of patience in order to get your watercolor right, because if the sketchbook is still wet and you go over it, you might just smudge it. So in many cases, when the watercolor, but as you know, watercolor requires a lot of layering, so you need to be very patient to wait for the underlying layer to dry before you go to the next layer, and so on and so forth. But every time you get a chance, when you see that the layer is dry, you could always go over it. As long as you have the color in your brush, you can just find ways to put it on. Okay, the next stage of the sketching that the way I'm thinking about it is to create form or 3-dimension for the body, and also separation of shape to push some shape to the back and some shape to the front. The easiest way to do this is by casting shadow, or put shadows down, and when you do that, you will seem to have a sense of popping up, or 3-dimension, if you like. That's kind of like the idea. And of course, dark is one way of doing it. There are other ways of doing shadow, but putting the dark colors are the easiest. And I'm kind of just going around looking at the photograph, looking at the sketch itself, and then figure out how I could separate shape, how I could put some shadows to mimic. Some of the darks are not exactly because of shadow, but because of the design of the shell. For example, behind a tortoise shell, it's not because of shadow, but more because of the design on the back of the tortoise, right? So in any case, the shadow is one of the strategy of trying to create form or 3-dimension, a sense of 3-dimension on a 2-dimension piece of brush. Is just dancing around and making dark spots and so on. Now, I must say that I already have some understanding of the sketchbook at this point. I just want to say that I'm actually quite pleased with the quality of the sketchbook. The paper, as you would expect from Rhodia, is very, very high quality. It does buckles a little bit, despite the fact that it's a 300 GSM paper. It doesn't warp, but it curves somewhat. I think just because it's moist, but I think when you close the sketchbook, leave it for a couple of days, I think it should be quite alright. And you know, overall, I would say it wasn't a cheap sketchbook. It was decently priced. I think it's just like anything of value, you do have to pay for it because it takes money, takes effort, and lots of money as well to buy the raw material, the resources to produce a good sketchbook. I would say this is pretty much one of the best among the best. It kind of is in that category, if you like. So if you like the form factor, the brand, and so on, you could go over to Overjoy and get yourself a copy. They are not sponsoring me for this video, but I like to point people to art shop in Singapore, just to make sure that we support our local businesses. And it's still the same: shadows, shape separations, and so on and so forth. It's basically just to make sure that you feel like the animals is sort of 3D in that sense. Now, the next strategy or the next thoughts in my head would be, at least for the hornbill, the squirrel, and the bird, it's how do I mimic fur. I don't really want to paint every single stroke of the fur. Clearly, that will take too much time, and it's not a sketch, more like a fine art painting. But I do want to just give it a sense of fur, so I'm just gonna flick a few edges. The edges are the best place where you can portray or mimic the sense of fur in your sketch. Use a finer tool, a fountain pen, to give it a bit more definition of fur, if you like, on the edges, to even give it finer lines to mimic or to portray the idea of fur. But for now, my brush, which is number 6, flicking it somewhat and delicately, just paint the fur makes sense. For the tortoise though, it's a little bit more dark underneath to make it pop or make the sketch more 3-dimension, or at least the tortoise seems to be above ground slightly, even if it's just 1 inch. And I think the idea is shadows, 3-dimension, shape separations, and fur mimic. That's basically the few ideas that I'm carrying through as I dab my brush here and there and have it dance around the sketchbook. You could basically just use those few thoughts to kind of like correct or improve a little bit here and there, and just to make it more readable. Readability of your sketch is important to make sure that it does look like what you intend it to be and not something else. So that's the idea. Thinking, all right, we need to go darker, and I'm using this Sumi paint. They're basically ink, or Chinese ink or Japanese ink, if you like. And I'm using my fountain pen, which is an old one, and I'm using it to kind of just doodle lines, a very fine line with the ink, and to draw into the hornbill, the squirrel, and so on, because it's a very, very fine drawing tool. I can make very, very thin line. And I'm also trying to define a little bit better the shape separation, and also to give it a bit of directions. Those directional lines will give the sketch a little bit more body, a little bit more 3D. And those are little tricks that you can use to create the illusions of form, if you like, pen or scratching, if you like, because it is just using this pen as a just a marker or mark maker, if you like. I must say that the sketchbook, the paper is holding really, really well. It's taking the pen, is taking the brush, is taking my washes, is taking the watercolor in a very, very nice way. And I would say, I guess I recommend the sketchbook Will I use it more? I'm not sure. But if someone wants to, use the form factor and like this size, and I would say that you will not go wrong with Rhodia cold-pressed sketchbook. All right, is sharpening up, if you like. It's sharpening because the ink will give it a bit more illustrative quality. It also separate the shape a little bit better. The tortoise was looking up, the lines, the body marks, almost like tattoo on the skin of the tortoise, if you like. Easier to be defined with my pen. I'm also more skillful with the pen than brush, I suppose, being easier to manipulate. Same thing with the bird. I'm defining the beak, the fur, and the separation of the parts of the body, if you like, with just small indication of lines. The next thing, I'm gonna try to give the eyes a bit of a highlight. I'm using my Copic Opaque White, dot the eye with reflections, and that gives it a sparkle. Sometimes you need to gray that down because white can be ghastly. So you need to look carefully at the reflectiveness of the eyes and decide how much of a white or gray you want to drop in. Since you have a very opaque white, it will give you, almost a perfect white that you want. But to tone it down, just take a dirty color, smash it in, and it becomes grayish, and use that, and that works really well. And so it's not always that you want perfect white. You may want gray occasionally, and that should be part of your arsenal in thinking about how you could drop reflections on the eye, if you like. Say destroyed, but sort of reduce its effectiveness, because when the artist should have used gray for the reflection on the eye, they decided to drop pure white, and it just didn't work. So evaluate it, and it's easy to correct. If it's white, you can put a layer of gray over it, and it might just work. If it's ghastly white that you're trying to reduce its brightness, then do a bit of evaluations and take a look, see what else I like or not like about the sketch. It's not quite done, I feel, and then that's just give me an opportunity to do a evaluation of it. Correction or editing, I'm gonna go back in with my fountain pen. This time it's loaded with waterproof bluish dark color, if you like. So it's not completely black, but it's a bluish color. It will kind of work because I have blue on the page, so blue and yellow and green, and that's kind of like the color scheme, and black, right? So I think from a color perspective, it's almost like an analogous color from yellow to blue. So green is in the middle, and since brown is dirty yellow, it's kind of like in the ballpark, if you like. Now, just giving a bit more definition on the feather, the fur, and all that of the bird's body. I felt that was the subject that was kind of off a little bit for me. In other words, it wasn't as clear, less clarity, so I'm going over to give it a bit more definition, if you like. I think that's about it. The next part of the video, I'm just gonna let my camera roll with some music in the background. I won't give it any commentary. I hope you enjoyed this video. You can stop here if you don't really want to look at a photograph, but if you want to look at a photograph, you're welcome to stay and look at the photographs I took this morning, which I really enjoyed myself at Jurong Lake Gardens, walking about with a camera and my video camera as well, and doing this for you guys. Alright, so bye for now, take care, and enjoy the rest of the slideshow.